So let's bring in our buddy Nile Lawrence-Stample. Always good to talk with him. He is with NLS Cleaning, won a national title a decade ago for Florida State, played for the Cleveland Browns, and he has made his way back from God's country where he was watching Florida State practice this week. Good to have you with us now. How you been?
Yeah, man, I've been good. Been good. The weather's starting to get good, so yeah, it's been awesome.
You spent a few days in Tallahassee. You were able to get to camp and watch spring ball under Mike Norvell. How did it go?
It was awesome. So my company NLS Cleaning, we actually facilitated some washing out there, and it was a really cool experience. I was able to get my guys an opportunity to see practice as well as see some of the facilities. And yeah, check out our Instagram and see some really cool content at NLS Cleaning. But it was really interesting to see the tempo, man. Norvell is a monster. He is out there really running around and really trying to bring the energy to the team at all times. It's really cool.
Pressure washing. Did you get inside the bowels now? Because that building's been up forever.
Oh, no. Unfortunately, we didn't. We did a little bit of the outskirts of some of the other facilities outside of the campus, but we're hoping to get in there at some point soon.
Yeah, I was going to say, who knows
right?
what could actually, effectively be inside there after decades and decades. Talk to us more about camp because, you and I have had this conversation now many times about saying goodbye to 63-3 and just starting again, brand new and taking that step by step. Did you see any sense of any type of hangover now that you were there watching him practice?
No, it was one of the first times I've actually seen practice since I have been back. I've been to a few games, but since being back, this is the first time I've actually seen practice. So it was really cool to watch. It didn't look like there was anything going on other than high tempo, high motor football, which was awesome to watch. You have a coach that really understands that these players need tempo, and he is the one that's feeding it. And when I was there, Jimbo was someone that didn't really do too much in terms of the tempo-wise. He just had this look on his face, and you were able to tell whether we're doing good or not. And it wasn't a very big difference in that face, but you just knew that we needed to pick it up or whatever the case may be. But Norvell is playing a big role when it comes to bringing these guys to the tempo that they're needed to be at all practice long, and it's awesome.
Interesting. Obviously, Bobby Bowden was very active with his team when he got there in '76. By the time I started covering him, he delegated the authority to Wayne McDuffie, Brad Scott, Mark Richt, Mickey Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
They called the shots. Jimbo liked that as well, though he was involved with the offense. That's not the case with Mike Norvell.
Mm.
He's kind of like Bowden when he got there in the mid-'70s. I realize you weren't even born then, but is that sort of surprise you to see just how active he is in practice?
Yeah, it was. It was surprising because it was so Norvell's tempo has, I think it has one level and it's pretty much just go. And watching it throughout the practice, you think that there's going to be some highs and some lows, but it's really consistent. And the players really buy into it and they feel that. You could tell the electricity throughout the entire indoor facility as well as the outdoor, especially with that renovation that they're doing. It seems like they're utilizing the indoor a lot more now. But it's something that I wasn't expecting to see Norvell be so involved in the actual running and tempo of the practice in general.
Malik Benson, who's one of the newly acquired members of this football team via the transfer portal, a wide receiver from Alabama, was pretty long-winded this week talking about Florida State, the culture, the environment, actually said it was a better locker room than Alabama, gave a lot of examples as to why that was. Now, I got to believe the pressure at Bama was probably insane for him and Florida State's from where Norvell built it to where it is now. Yes, pressure is building, but I still don't believe it was like Alabama. What were your thoughts when you heard that an incoming guy who's only been there for, a cup of coffee already has this to say about Florida State?
I think it's a big contributor to what's happening culture-wise at Florida State. So if someone says that, they're not only seeing the visual of it, they're feeling the vibe, they're feeling the culture. And for them to feel comfortable to say that, especially so early on, there's something great going on in Tallahassee. And I think obviously the locker room looks awesome. My guys were able to see it. They were in awe. It looks amazing, especially since before when I was there. It just absolute complete transformation. So seeing guys respond like that is a great sign that Norvell is being able to put his arms around portal guys and people that he's bringing in order to be key role players.
Envious, maybe a little bit of jealousy, maybe a little bit of, damn, why didn't we have this when I got there 15 years ago?
It's easy to say that, but then it's easier to realize that you were a winner when you were there.
Yeah.
And when you were a winner and when you're a national champion, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter any of those frills because we were at the top of the top. And when I was there, we were there for quite some time. So all the frills are cool, but being the top and being a national champion really trumps anything over that.
Nile Lawrence-Stample with us, joins us here all the time. We talk Florida State. Of course, he won a national title just over a decade ago with Florida State, also played with the Cleveland Browns. Now a business owner right here in Duval with NLS Cleaning. All right, everyone begins with the quarterback. I'm not going to do that to you because you're a defensive lineman. Joshua Farmer missing camp. He's been injured, so he's sitting out the spring. My understanding is Darrell Jackson has been unblockable.
Oh man, it's so watching the fierceness of being able to come off the ball and being able to move as well as being able to play both that run as well as that pass rush. It was super cool to watch. First, he's a big guy. And especially all the weight that I've dropped, it felt so weird kind of being in the mix with all those guys again. But it's cool because you're able to see some of these guys and compare them. So I'm seeing the Everett Dawkins, I'm seeing the Timmy Jernigans, I'm seeing these replicas of these players and watching them kind of evolve. It was a really cool adjustment as I kind of watched on the sideline, but I think that he is going to be a dominant player in between the tackles.
How about your boy Eddie Goldman going back to the NFL?
Oh, super cool, right?
Yeah.
What a cool opportunity.
Yeah.
Happy for that guy.
Sitting out a year, I believe. Yeah. And making his way back. All right, so you saw that out of Jackson. Did anyone else on that defensive front catch your eye?
So I saw some leadership stuff from Patrick. I thought that was a good play in order for him to do, and it's going to be absolutely needed, especially with us having a little bit of a I wouldn't say maturity, but a role that the interior needs to be able to build, as well as some newer guys coming on the outside. So I did see some captain-ish role playing from him. So I hope to see more in the regular season.
And reportedly, he's put on 15 pounds.
Yeah. He looks great. He looks phenomenal.
Yeah,
quick off the ball, absolutely good hands.
I'm not a draft analyst, but there could be 2 first-round picks right there, Patrick Payton and Darrell Jackson, in a year if they perform well. And Joshua Farmer, I think many believe, has the NFL written all over him as well. Linebacker feels like right now, at least on paper, it is the Achilles heel. Did you see anything there at linebacker that would change that way of thinking?
I don't know. I think DJ is going to be obviously a key player for us, but watching the linebackers interact, especially when we watch inside drill, the fits that they have and the camaraderie and the feeling that they have is going to be built throughout the spring as well as throughout fall football. So I think it's really early to say where things are going to lie, but I think DJ is going to be a huge anchor point in there, and he's going to have to put his hand around some people.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the quarterback now. It kind of mixed reviews after the scrimmage on DJ Uiagalelei. Some good, some bad. And at that particular point, I want to say that was like their 5th practice, and it was March. So, you can't base everything on that. But you just saw him the other day. You saw him 2 days ago. So what was your opinion on the quarterback who appears that, he's going to be the guy under center this year for FSU?
So I thought he had some really good throws. I think he so DJ's game seems very much dynamic, obviously, and that's why we brought him into this offensive scheme. But I think he has a really good touch on the ball. And what I liked was when DJ was in, the tempo and nothing changed when Brock got in. Nothing changed when he was not the focal point anymore. And that's something that I think Norvell does a good job at, because it allows every single person in that room to understand that everyone is important. The number 1, the number 2s, the 3s, everyone plays a vital role in this. And that's something that I think Jimbo did well with as well, but I think Norvell is really keying in on it.
All right, so installation is not fully there now. Hearing a lot of things about him trying to grasp this offense, the pace of this offense. There was even a comment that Mike Norvell made about the footwork of DJ Uiagalelei, which is a little bit alarming considering all the starts he has at both Clemson and Oregon State. Were you able to observe that part of it, not the footwork, but what they were doing offensively, whether it was handing off the ball or the route tree? Did it feel like it was a basic starter blueprint, or was there a little bit of, some, let's say, maturity and some growth in what he was trying to do offensively with this team?
Yeah, I think that DJ seems very much involved with wanting to grow. He seemed very humble. He seemed very level-headed, and he was listening and being coachable, which is what you want to see. But you have to understand that Norvell has specific things that he has in mind, especially when it comes to the footwork. Where you place your feet is obviously extremely important because your feet follow, your hands follow, your eyes follow everything. So I think where Norvell has to see is that learning curve as we get to the end of spring in order for him to really fit within the scheme that he wants ultimately. And that footwork is going to play a huge factor in that.
You see anything out of the young freshman?
Oh, yeah. No, it was really cool to watch, especially I think he's going to be a promising guy. I think he looked good. He looked comfortable. And we'll see. We'll see kind of where he ends up at because this portal thing, he really kind of throws stuff and it kind of stops you from wanting to really invest in kids, and it sucks. But watching him, I think that he can mature with this team, but you never know where he'll be a few years from
Yeah,
now.
I believe the name is Luke Krummenhoek. I may be saying that incorrectly. I did meet his dad at a chili a Jaguars chili cook-off contest, and Denny Thompson was there, and Denny, of course, the quarterback whisperer, said he's the best high school prospect he has ever seen. That was after his junior year at Savannah. These transfer portal QBs are okay. Some forget that Jordan Travis was actually a portal QB. But it's time now for Florida State to get back to the way they always were, including when you played and you had Jameis Winston. Florida State needs to recruit their own quarterbacks as freshmen and build them up and play them, whether it's when they're sophomores, juniors, or whatever. You hope that that's where this program gets back to.
Absolutely. And it's really hard to compare that just because obviously things have changed over the past 3 years, 4 years, and you hope that we can get back to that, but that is going to take a significant amount of culture building at FSU. And I think that we're really close, but a quarterback is going to have to come in and they're going to have to see some longevity. They're going to have to see some of these other quarterbacks come in and do well at the next level for them to say, hey, I'm willing to kind of sit in the outskirts. I'm willing to sit and not necessarily play this season and not start the season, even though I feel like I'm ready. So when you see that and you see some of that stuff happening in a longevity standpoint, I think we may actually see that hopefully sometime soon.
On offense, Florida State's faster this year than they were a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Benson had the ridiculous, what do you run, a 4.39 or something like that?
Unbelievable.
But, Wilson wasn't that fast, and Keon wasn't that fast. You bring in Malik Benson and the Brown kid from LSU who can just run. And the one that I gave very little credence to, and I don't know if you were able to see him, was Jalen Lucas, who I understand may be the fastest of them all. I know there's 90-plus guys out there. I don't know if you had a chance to see him.
Yeah, no. So the speed of the offense is obviously super important, and the speed that we had last year is important. But being from Florida, obviously, especially with Norvell's game plan and offensive scheme, these fast guys are going to play a huge role for us. So I'm hoping that we can get back to the actual dominant play because of that. But speed, unfortunately, doesn't always translate to dominant play. So hopefully we can see that speed transfer to that.
I'm trying to remember if it was you who said it to me. If not, it was a couple of other former players that over the last 2, 3, 4 years, the offensive line looks smaller than it normally was, and they've really worked hard to build that up. Just with the eye test, were you able to get a feel in the ditch as to where you think this offensive line is going to be?
Yeah, I think the offensive line is is something that we're going to have to work on, just because we have some new players, but being able to have that camaraderie and that self-awareness for all of those offensive lines takes building, and it takes maturity, and it takes consistency, and it takes reps. So I'm hoping to see it. I think the size is definitely there. I saw some dogs out there, and it just we'll see. We'll see how we go into the regular season.
Did you see anything in the big back? The young freshman, Cam Davis, 225 pounds, wearing number 3, and if so, your feelings?
I think he was super consistent. I think so he reminds me somewhat of a Devontae Freeman, where Devontae is very consistent. He's a professional when it comes to practice, and I think that's something that I saw in him in terms of being able to do the same thing over and over, put his head down, and make sure that he's running the fits that need to be run.
Bigger though.
Yeah.
He's a James Wilder
100%.
Jr. type size.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. What did I miss? Anything else that you saw out there that is worthy of mentioning?
So I think for the most part, the overall understanding of the spring football season is essential to going into the regular season, and realizing that some of these players that are out here are going to get the reps that they have, honestly, up until obviously the regular season, but maybe up until the next season if they get redshirted. So this is a super important part for them to be able to hone in and to realize that if they can master something now, they can perfect it into the summer. And as we get into the regular season play, we are ready to go.
Yeah, they've got, I think, 8 practices, maybe 7 left, one more spring game, or at least one more scrimmage. Not this week, not next weekend. I think it's the weekend of the 22nd, 23rd, when that is actually going to take place. So some good things happening over there at Florida State. Nile Lawrence-Stample played at Florida State, won a national title, played for the Cleveland Browns. He calls Jacksonville his home.